Hello friends, welcome again. Friends, in today's video lecture, we want to understand Aristotle's ideas on plot construction in tragedy. We know that Aristotle was a great Greek philosopher who wrote Poetics in Greek language. And in today's video, we will discuss important elements of plot, three types of plot, three important requisites of plot as discussed by Aristotle in his Poetics. But before we move ahead, I request you all to please subscribe to this channel so that whenever I upload a new video, you might get the notification. Friends, Aristotle was indeed a milestone, a landmark in the history of literary criticism. Why? Because he is considered as the most important critic in the entire world as far as literary criticism is concerned. He is also known as the very Alexander of criticism by Sainte's birth. Right? The Poetics by Aristotle is the most influential and the most inspiring critical document on the theory of tragedy. The critics like Atkins say that it is a miracle. The Poetics written by Aristotle is a miracle because it contains so much that is of permanent and universal interest. Friends, you just imagine that Aristotle wrote Poetics in some 3rd and 4th century BC. That means about 2400 years back. He has written this theory on tragedy, Poetics, and still it is read and understood by the scholars and critics in today's times. So that is the reason why Atkins was not wrong when he says that it contains, Poetics contains much that is of permanent and universal interest. In fact, many critics consider Poetics as the world book. Okay, in this world book, in Poetics, Aristotle has discussed the nature, the structure, and important elements of tragedy, and according to him, there are 6 important constituent parts of tragedy, and they are plot, character, thought, song, diction, and spectacle. But among all these 6, Aristotle considers plot as the most important element, most important constituent part of tragedy. And that is the reason why Aristotle calls plot as the life and soul of tragedy. Can you imagine your life without a soul within your body? Now, in the same manner, if a dramatist ignores plot construction in tragedy, then that tragedy is not at all a tragedy. Now, what is this plot? Aristotle has defined plot in this very simple manner. He said that plot is the logical arrangement of events in tragedy. Okay, now what is a tragedy? In tragedy, the dramatist presents different events, different actions. Okay, these actions are taken from life, right? These events or actions must be connected logically with one another, right? That is called plot construction. Now, tragedy deals only with serious actions, right? There are 2 types of plays, comedies and tragedies. But when you are writing a tragedy, he says that, Aristotle says that the tragedy writer must imitate only serious actions from life. Why? Because it's a tragedy. The tragedy has to be serious. The tragedy has to be elevated and noble, and that's why serious actions are presented. He says that the dramatist must imitate serious actions from life because tragedy has to be serious and elevated. Now, what are the characteristics of an ideal tragic plot? Then he says there are 3 important characteristics, and they are completeness, magnitude, and unity. One by one, we are going to discuss these 3 terms. The tragic plot must be complete in itself. Now, what is this complete or completeness? By completeness, Aristotle means to say that the tragedy must have a good beginning, a good middle, and a good end. What is a good beginning? A good beginning is one which does not start from the previous actions which are unknown to the audience. Many times you must have observed that you watch a movie in the theater, but the beginning is an abrupt beginning where you feel that the movie begins not from the beginning, you feel that the movie begins from the middle. Such beginning is not good. So a good beginning is very important. Even Humphrey House, an important critic, he also said that an effective beginning is the sure test of the dramatist's skill. If the dramatist wants to prove himself as a skilled person, then he must go for the effective beginning. And as far as effective beginning is concerned, friends, remember William Shakespeare is a master of giving such an astonishing and effective beginning. Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, Othello, you examine any plays written by Shakespeare, you find a good beginning in his plays. Now, what is a good middle? A good middle is one, the actions of which come out from the beginning. In the beginning, say for example 8 to 10 events are presented by the dramatist. From those 8 to 10 only some new actions come out. Okay, so logically we feel they are connected. Naturally some new actions come out from the beginning. That is called good middle. Okay, and a good middle is one which leads us to the rising action and climax of the play, and a good end is one which presents the falling action and which brings us to the denouement. Denouement means the proper resolution or the end of the tragedy. All our doubts and questions are resolved, are solved by the dramatist towards the end of the play, and that is called a good end. At the end of the play, what happens next? Such question must not arise in the minds of the spectators. You can see this graph like a exposition, that is a good beginning, then rising action, then climax, that is a good middle, and then falling action, and fifth one is resolution. These are the 5 stages of a good plot construction according to Aristotle. So first element of a good and ideal tragic plot is completeness. Second one is magnitude. Magnitude is related with size. Okay, what should be the ideal size of the tragedy? Okay, then he says that the tragedy must be finished. It must not be too long like an island, nor be too short like an eye of a fly. That means he wants to say that the tragedy must have proper symmetry. Okay, not too long and not too short. Why? Because it is to be enacted on the stage, and if it is too long, then the spectators, the viewers might get bored. Okay, so it must have a proper size. And here he says that tragedy must be finished within one single revolution of the sun. That means 24 hours. The life of the hero, life of the tragic hero, which is presented on the stage, that is about 24 hours only. Not the whole life should be presented on the stage, because that is not possible within 2 hours, right? So the dramatist has to work with these limitations, right? In novel, in one of my previous videos, I have compared novel with the drama. There we have also discussed that in novel, the novelist has liberty and scope of presenting the whole life and generation of the hero, but in tragedy, in drama, that is not possible, right? In Poetics, Aristotle writes that the tragedy should center upon a single action, whole and complete, and having a beginning, middle, and an end. Okay, so second one is magnitude, proper size and symmetry. Third one is unity. Aristotle is a critic, a classical critic, an ancient critic who gives much emphasis on the unity of action. Friends, somewhere I have discussed there are three unities which the dramatist follows: unity of action, unity of time, and unity of place. Regarding unity of action, Aristotle says that this should not be violated. Every incident must have some logical connection with the next incident, and the next incident again must have some logical connection with the next event. Okay, so all events or actions presented in tragedy must have proper logical connection. That is called unity of action. No event in the tragedy should be irrelevant. Okay, all events are weaved, just like a weaver. The dramatist weaves all events in such a manner that even if you pick out one incident from the tragedy, the whole effect of tragedy is disturbed. So every incident is very important in order to arouse the cathartic effect of purgation in the hearts and minds of the readers and audience. Okay, regarding the unity of time, Aristotle says that tragedy must be finished within one single revolution of the sun. Now, after discussing three elements of an ideal tragic plot, Aristotle has also discussed three types of plot: simple plot, complex plot, and episodic plot. What is a simple plot? A simple plot means a plot with a story with one main plot with no subplots. Okay, and a complex plot is one in which there is one main story, one main plot, and side by side in a parallel rhythm there is one or more than one, there are one or more than one subplots. Okay, that is a complex plot. An episodic plot is a complex plot, okay, one main plot with subplots, but having no rationality, having no probability. According to Aristotle, out of these three, complex plot is the ideal kind of a plot, ideal tragic plot. After that, Aristotle has also discussed the three important requirements of an ideal tragic plot, and they are hamartia, peripecia, and anagnosis. Okay, if I use Aristotle's words, then he says that hamartia, peripecia, anagnosis all hang together in the ideal schematization of the tragic plot. Friends, don't worry, these three words are Greek words and I am going to explain them to you in very simple manner. Let's begin with hamartia. What is hamartia? Hamartia is a tragic flow. Hamartia is a mistake committed by the tragic hero in the play, right? The focus here is on the hero in whose life you find a sudden change or you find a decline in the life of the tragic hero. Okay, now this decline comes out of what? What is the reason behind his decline, behind his downfall in his life? The reason is hamartia. Every character, even our practical life, real life also, nobody is perfect in this world. Okay, we have some weaknesses, we have some merits and demerits. When one weakness becomes the reason behind the downfall of our life, that weakness is called hamartia. Okay, the change which is presented in the life of the tragic hero from prosperity to adversity, this change is not brought about by fate. According to Aristotle, this change must be brought about by the miscalculation or mistake committed by the tragic hero, and that mistake, that demerit, that weakness is known as hamartia. So, hamartia must be presented in tragedy. Another important element of an ideal tragic plot, requirement of an ideal tragic plot is peripecia. Peripecia means the sudden change or reversal of situation, okay, without which tragedy is not possible. In the beginning of the play, the dramatist presents the tragic hero as the most prosperous and the happiest kind of a man. But towards the end of the play, you find the sudden change in his life from prosperity to adversity, from happiness to sorrow, and this decline must be presented in tragedy, which is known as peripecia in Greek language. And the third one is anagnosis. Anagnosis again is a Greek term and it means realization of truth. Friends, remember, the tragic hero commits some mistake in his life and then he suffers at the end of the play. But when he suffers, before we leave the play, he realizes, the tragic hero realizes that it was his own mistake, it was his own weakness in his character which has brought about tragedy in his life, and this makes him even more poignant. Okay, this makes the tragedy even more poignant and serious. Okay, so that is why at the end he realizes that he has wrongly done something in his life, he has committed something wrong in his life, and that is the reason why he is suffering. So this realization of truth must also be presented at the end of the play, which is known as anagnosis in tragedy in Greek language. So friends, here we come to the end of this discussion. Let's recall that Aristotle has written Poetics in Greek language, where he has discussed tragedy, and there he has also discussed the ideal tragic plot. In ideal tragic plot, there are three elements, okay, they are completeness, magnitude and unity. And he has also discussed three types of plot: simple plot, complex plot, episodic plot. According to Aristotle, complex plot is the ideal tragic plot. And later he has also discussed three important requirements of an ideal tragic plot, and they are hamartia, peripecia and anagnosis. So friends, I hope and I am sure now the things are clear to you, but still if you have doubts, do write to me in the comment section of this channel, and if you really like this video, please share this among your friends and classmates. Thank you very much.